Hello, Kiwanis friends. My name is Laurie Nappier. I am a licensed clinical social worker from the state of North Carolina. I'm an adolescent, adult, and family therapist. I appreciate so much the opportunity to come and speak with you all today about all of the crazy that has been the past year and a half with COVID and its impact on our students, on our sponsored leadership programs, and our ability to serve one another. It's been a real challenge, and I appreciate all that you all have done and the opportunity to share with you about my experience. So to tell you a little bit about who I am and where I come from, I am the daughter of two very strong Kiwanians who've been involved on the district and international levels. I started going to Kiwanis meetings when I was in third grade with my dad. And that prompted me to start my own builders club at my middle school when I was in middle school, and led me to run for international trustee in high school, where I served for that year, and then led me to be a lieutenant governor in Circle K. I'm the past president of my Kiwanis club, and I'm currently the district chair of Key Leader for the Carolinas district. My development and service leadership through our SLP programs, as well as being a Kiwanian and seeing it lived out amongst so many adults in my life, really led me to where I am professionally as a therapist. Being able to work with individuals and help them identify their needs, but also their areas of growth, has been a huge piece of who I am and how I see the world around me. Now, that opportunity then to share my experience during COVID and with our students has been really crucial in understanding how we can meet them and where they are, and then figure out a way to move forward from here. So let's back up to March 2020. This is where our world changed, right? We all thought we're going to have a couple of weeks and stay at home. We're going to step back from school for a little while and see what happens. We'll get a little vacation. And that little vacation turned into a year and a half of collective trauma for our entire planet, really. By June, the diagnoses of mental health and substance abuse behaviors and disorders was up by 41%. By that time in July, ABC store sales were up by 38% over that time in the previous year. That played out in every way possible, and marriages and families and schools and friendships. Isolation was on the rise. People were consumed with fear. And what I saw professionally in my office played out just like that. What I saw was anxiety. People who are fluctuating between being bored of this Groundhog Day of every day is the same, with being anxious about everything being ripped out from under them. Because in so many ways, that's what our students felt, and that's what we as adults felt. And this back and forth of just waiting for the other shoe to drop was a cycle that we couldn't break. Grief, the loss of what was normal to us, loss of family members, illnesses that people were not recovering from, and the fear from it. Loss and grief and understanding our connection to other people, since we're being told that we need to break off connections and life support opportunities. Our Kiwanis clubs weren't allowed to meet, kids weren't going into school, all of those social connections weren't happening. Our connection with our purpose, what gives us meaning during the week, wasn't there anymore. People were really struggling with understanding that it's okay not to be okay. Our social media presence tells us that we need to put our best foot forward. We need to present this shiny image of who we are. Our students didn't know how to reconcile not being okay in regular life with the need to have it all put together on all of their social media feed. And that back and forth created a lot of disconnect that played into our collective trauma. By collective trauma, I mean, never in our lifetimes has there been a situation where everyone is experiencing the same thing traumatically. So, you might experience something traumatic, but your friends around you aren't, and they can rally to support you. Or someone in your world might be experiencing something traumatic, and the same would happen. But in this situation, everybody's not okay. No one is untouched. You're having a hard day because all of these things are hitting you, and you go to have a conversation with someone else and it's all hitting them. And then you go home to talk to your kids and they're having a hard day because it's all hitting them. And so there's no one who's left on even footing. And what that does is that creates these layers of issues. So I've seen struggles with families who have lost multiple family members, clients that lost both parents to COVID, immune compromised families where kids aren't allowed to do the basic normal things because they have a sibling or they have a parent that's immune compromised and it's just not safe. Students that were very strong academically in school, that all of a sudden when everything is virtual, they don't know how to operate in that system. And so all of a sudden you have these kids that have found their identity in their academia that are failing at virtual school. Brokenness with the loss of graduations and proms, whole athletic seasons and scholarships for colleges that are dependent upon all of these things happening, that creates a lot of fear and a lot of brokenness. A lot of suicidal, isolated teens, a lot of overdoses, kids that are trying to figure out how to hang themselves and aren't successful, kids that are sitting in their dark rooms wrapped with LED lights and don't leave for days, and they kind of lose track of where their meaning is and where their purpose is, and figuring out how to find the meaning in life beyond that. Family fallout, marriages that are crumbling, folks who are losing their jobs, and because of that, their financial struggles jump in. The substance abuse spike to feel like they can cope with some of these other things that are going on that really pull out the tension beyond that. And that these are just things that are on top of our regular, normal post-traumatic stress or cancer diagnosis or car accident trauma or all the other things that happen in general in life. These are things on top of that. Now, don't feel like everything that I saw was negative, because it wasn't. I saw kids being creative in ways to connect with each other, new ways, creative ways, because they can't come together, right? We've seen communities that trick or treat, and did like slingshot launching candy. I mean, we as a community have come together in so many wonderful, positive ways. But there's been so much attention drawn to the need and the desire for connection and community. And that's kind of where I feel like our Kiwanis clubs jump in. So what is it to be a middle schooler, a high schooler, or a college student? What does that mean these days? What is this developmentally? This is a time in life for people to really understand their identity, right? To understand their personality, to figure out what matters in their life, who they are, what their morals are, what their code is of a friendship that's separate from their parents, right? Learning how to problem solve, figuring out who to trust, and when that trust is broken, how to forgive. It's a huge opportunity for them to learn the power that they have to change their situation. What ownership can they take of the situations that they're in, of the behaviors that they have, of the choices that they make, and to figure out which community they can lean on. And so all these things are under attack. If you can imagine this with all of the things going on with COVID, understanding your identity, your personality, your value set, who you can lean on, who you can trust, how to forgive, where your community is, all these things are being attacked. And so when your world is flipping upside down, who do you turn to, right? So I want to dip back to some research from the Fuller Youth Institute. It's a research-based organization out of California. And they have come up with a tightrope of adolescence that really helps you understand what it means across the age span. Adolescence, they identified, really stretches from the age 11 all the way up until the age of 28, which we used to think, you become an adult at 18, that's where it stops. Well, it really doesn't. And during this time, there are three different chunks of developmental stages. When you're younger, when you're earlier on, you really look like an adult, but you think very much like a kid. Things are very concrete, black and white thinking. You really are trying to understand what you think, but you're still very dependent on your family system for that. Those are more of our middle schoolers, early high school students. Our high school students are very much egocentric, right? Like, the world revolves around me. Some adults are like that too. We can all laugh about that. But, when you're really an adolescent, that's where you are. You're trying to understand more abstract things where things are more gray and they're understanding. How do I protect myself? How do I figure out who I am, where this identity is? And then as you age, you really get to a place in late adolescence where you understand more attitudes. You understand more of who your own identity is. You understand how you can give back to a situation and not just take it. And adolescence is changing. These cultural shifts within our world really have left our students to figure things out on their own. They're trying to navigate conflicting messages between what's told to them about their performance, their schoolwork, their friendship, all of these dynamics, and trying to understand how to figure it out as they're mentally developing and physically developing through their teenhood, if you will. In the book Hurt 2.0 by Chap Clark, he talks about systemic abandonment, what that is and what it looks like. And let me help tease it out a little bit for you. Within our external systems of systemic abandonment, it's basically saying that without really realizing it, we are leaving our children high and dry and alone. That sports and music and dance and church groups and organizations like Kiwanis sponsored leadership programs are guilty of ignoring the developmental needs of our kids because we want to pursue our organizational goals. As admirable as those goals may be, we miss out on the developmental needs of our students. And then from an internal perspective, these same young people have lost safe relationships, the intimate settings that they once were able to have connection, to have opportunities to be vulnerable and to receive that nurturing to get to adulthood. That a lot of those internal opportunities aren't there anymore. And I can attribute a lot of that to our technology and our social media, that they're finding their connections online. They're finding their connections with folks that they either may or may not know. And so that individual nurturing opportunity isn't there. They're looking for it in a 30-second video on TikTok, or they're trying to communicate their vulnerability on TikTok for the world to see, rather than for an individual that they know, loves, and cares about them to see. So this really brings us to the questions that are at the root of all of this that's going on with our students. 3 specific questions that come down to 3 specific things: your identity, your belonging, and your purpose. So with your identity, the question is, who am I, right? With belonging, it's where do I fit? And with your purpose, it's how will my life matter? With your who am I identity question, for most students, it comes down to how we view ourselves, right? And that can be, am I the athlete? Am I a jock? Am I a leader? Am I a follower? Am I quiet? Am I shy? Am I loud? Am I funny? All of these ways that we identify ourselves really play into the dynamic of who we believe we are and who we believe we can't be, or we can be, based upon that identity. With the where do I fit and our belonging, it's our connection with other people, and kind of fits in with the one before it. It's where do I fit, right? So do I belong in a key club? Am I like those people? Am I not like those people? Do I belong in my family? Do they accept me for who I am? Do I belong in this community? Is there a place for me there? And then we drop to purpose. What difference can I make? What does it matter if I show up? Is there something special about me that has something to offer that the world hasn't seen before? And when students are wrestling with these 3 main life issues, and they're all being attacked with the isolation and the fear that's wrapped around COVID, we get to a place where they go back to the who do I turn to when everything is upside down? Well, what the Fuller Institute found was that students that were the most stable and successful, that were the most able to navigate all of these pitfalls that they're going to walk through, are students that have a relationship with 5 adults that are not their parents. 5 adults. And these adults can be church leaders. They can be, coaches. They can be the parents of their friends. They can be Kiwanis. They need 5 adults that know them by name, that care when they show up, and that will speak encouragement into their lives. So, Kiwanians, my challenge for you is to be one of those 5 for the students around you. for the Key Clubbers and the Circle Kers and the Builders Clubbers around you to be one of those 5. And I have some ways to encourage you to engage and empower them. So the first is to be present with them, to pay attention. So put your phone down, know their names, recognize their faces, remember their stories. Remember if they mentioned last time that they were worried about that math test. Remember if that kid didn't have a ride to the service project because their parent works 3 jobs and they might need some help. Remember those things. Be present with them when you can. The next is to model healthy relationships in action. Don't give up as Kiwanians. Do more. I know that things are harder and things look different and things are different, but we need to, as Kiwanians, model action that is healthy and proactive. Recognize that you as Kiwanians can be there for other people, but then also allow them to be there for you. Model that for our students, that it's okay if you weren't able to grab all the water bottles that you needed for this event and to call somebody and ask them for help, and to model that that's okay. Be who you are and let them be who they are. And what I mean by that is a lot of folks feel like they have to be somebody different in order for students to like them. And that is just absolutely not true. In fact, what our students recognize is what's inauthentic. They would rather you be you and you show up as you than you show up trying to be someone that you're not. And in the same breath, allow them to be who they are. Allow them to be loud or quiet or silly or creative or traditional, and to be successful and to be a leader and recognized as that for who they are as well. I want to encourage you to be creative and to be determined in the way you serve, to try new things and to succeed and to make mistakes, and then to evaluate those mistakes and keep moving forward. Show our students that they can problem solve through these changing times and that they don't have to have it all figured out, because you as Kiwanians, as adults, don't have it all figured out. And that's okay. And that we can work through this and understand that we can grow together. So then as part of this, the best way for us to help them be healthy is to be healthy ourselves, right? So how can we be the healthiest Kiwanians for them? And I just throw this in there because I feel like it's absolutely important for us to be in a good place if we're going to help other people be in a good place. So to that end, I want to encourage you to have a schedule and routine. Know when you're waking up, know when you're going to bed, have things that you're doing during the day. Stay connected with other people. If you're not able to get out or do the same things you used to, your phone works, your computer works. Connect with them the way I'm able to connect with you right now through this video. Go outside. There's so much healing power of the sunshine and green grass and trees. Go outside and take a deep breath and step away for a minute. Let your mind clear and your heart clear, and that will help you be healthy. I want to challenge you to have a purpose or an agenda for each day. When you wake up in the morning, know that there's something you need to do. There's somebody that you need to call, that you have a reason to be focused and moving today. Plan something to look forward to. It could be something as big as a trip to another town. It could be something as small as you want to try a new cookie recipe to share with a neighbor. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, but plan something that you're looking forward to, something that you can be excited about as you move into the next day. And the last is to give yourself and others the grace to have a hard day. And as I mentioned before, in this collective trauma that we're all experiencing it, everybody is going to have a hard day, and there's nobody that's escaped it. So if you get snappy one day, then we want to encourage other people to have grace with you the same way they might get snappy with you too. And so give yourself the opportunity to take a deep breath and to offer yourself that grace and to offer it to others. You know, life is big for our students and as Kiwanians, and the needs are everywhere within our Kiwanis family and outside our Kiwanis family. I want to encourage you to let it settle inside of you that who you are actually can make a difference, that can change things for good with our students and our communities and our Kiwanis clubs, both now and in the future. It just depends on you being willing to step out, try something different, and care about the kids and the teens around you. Thanks so much. I'm always here if anybody wants to reach out. My contact information will be included on a slide, so feel free to reach out. Best wishes and lead forward.